I thought in this video I'm going to share a project I was actually commissioned to design an addition to a log cabin. Now the real question is, how does a modern architect make an addition to a log cabin? It's a challenge, and I like a challenge. And then I had a notion that I would build a wood model. I went down that rabbit hole. So this video will be sort of about building this wood model and about the actual project itself. Okay, so this couple has a large property in the mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains, real log cabin. I mean, real logs that you see on the inside and the outside. It's a beautiful little thing. And they want to make an addition to it. It'll be basically the prime bedroom suite. The land, it's on the side of a mountain, so it's a steep slope. Stone retaining walls, and it's really a nice setting. The only thing I would say that, you know, maybe is slightly critical about the cabin itself is it is kind of rustic on rustic on rustic. Sometimes I think you can get a little too rustic. I've found in a similar project I did for my sister, taking some of the rustic things away and adding some modern things really allows you to enjoy the actual logs of the log cabin, because a clean modern thing contrasting a beautiful piece of wood is awesome. Footprint-wise, it's almost doubling the size of the cabin, and their thought was to sort of push it back behind the cabin into the slope, which was fine. The other thing they wanted to do was they wanted a deck on the top, so they wanted to be able to get on top of it and enjoy the view from an elevated position, which I thought was a wonderful idea. So that automatically sort of means that this thing becomes a box, right? You have a cabin with a gable roof, carport with a gable roof. Now we're adding something that is a box, has a flat roof, because you're going to use it as a deck. So it's all automatically kind of different, more modern. Again, I think that's cool. It's a great challenge. How do you get these things to sort of work together? The one thing I immediately started to wonder about why push this thing back behind the cabin. It sort of seems like you're apologizing for it or you're hiding it. And instead of being pushed back, if you pull it forward to the edge of the cliff, well, obviously the views are better. You're right there in the trees. The other thing that was sort of interesting when I started to look at the topography, the edge of the cliff aligned with the front of the cabin, but then it twisted past the cabin. And so when I thought about that, I thought, well, this box, instead of aligning directly with the cabin, should maybe turn and align with that edge of that cliff. That also made this more private. So the connector is this glassy thing. At the end, you actually see a little window that you can see through the closet and get just a glimpse of outside. So it sort of leads you. So then when you get to the end of this connector, you turn and arrive in the bedroom. So you open the door to the bedroom, and this is the grand space. Everything kind of point towards the view. This is just the grand space. This is just a wonderful bedroom to live in. There's a sleeping area, there's a sitting area. So then from the outside, you go up the stairs and you arrive at the deck, which is just going to be awesome. The guardrails are relatively closed around the box, except where the main view is, where there will be cable rails. So again, it's kind of pointing you towards the main view. That's it. You know, it's a pretty simple little thing, but that's kind of how it functions. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other kind of aspects of the design. Again, it's a pretty simple little box, but then there is complexity here. Structurally, there are two bays, so there are spans to the halfway point. The bearing wall in the middle is actually the closet and the entrance to the bedroom. And the idea is that structurally, half of the building sits very heavily on the ground. It has a stone base, so it's sitting very heavily on the ground. And the other half of it is sticking off into the view, and it's held by kind of spindly little steel trees, I like to call them. But you get a feeling that it's sticking out there, and it's kind of precarious. There's a low slope roof that goes towards the back, and then there's deck on top of that roof. And then ultimately there's a scupper so the water can go back into the earth. You know, I like to think about events. I like to think about how people are going to use spaces and wonderful, you know, moments. I think when it rains and there's a waterfall into the cistern, that would be a lot of fun. And then I think when it's a beautiful night and you're having a fire in the fire pit, that would be a lot of fun. And I kind of like expressing the fact that, you know, the water is going back into the earth. One of the most critical design decisions was making these horizontal slats. Now, you probably figured out I like wood slats, but I think in this case they're great because they help shade the big glass area of the master bedroom, and they help give the master bedroom privacy, but also I chose to use big boards with small, and to me that relates kind of to the log cabin, the logs and the chinking. And it starts to make these two pieces, you know, have a relationship or fit together. And that's why I even thought the railings at the top deck would be the same. And I provided models to the client of the cabin, of the carport, and the addition, so they can start to see how the pieces can come together. And I've suggested ways to modernize, you know, the railings, add slats to the carport to kind of bring the whole piece, the whole property together. So ultimately, I think the design turned out great. The clients like it. They've approved construction drawings. you know, I feel like I did my part in this. I think this little piece of the earth will be maybe better because of my involvement. So I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. See, all these things I do, I feel like they all relate, but the algorithms don't. They want me to stay in my lane, but I like talking about architecture and woodworking and wood models and all kinds of different things because it's all the same to me. It's all about design solutions and making things and wood and having fun.